The first school shooting I remember is Sandy Hook. I was 10 years old. I remember hearing about it on the radio in my dad's car. I, at 10 years old, could not fathom how something like that happened in a nation where I was taught from my hand over my heart to preach the words of liberty and justice for all. Today, I am a freshman in high school. I have witnessed the aftermath of almost 300 school shootings since Sandy Hook. I still cannot fathom it. My classmates and I have seen enough. We have seen countless mothers screaming outside of their child's school. We have seen children being carried out on gurneys. We have seen blood spilled in hallways. We have seen enough. We are the generation that learned how to hide in closets and how to throw textbooks and gouge out eyes like grapes before we learned to multiply. We have run, hide, fight engraved in our hands. Our survival instincts kick in when the intercom goes off to tell us about the rainy day dismissal plans. We are the generation that learned how to hide under the blood of someone else before we graduated the 5th grade. So to us, it makes no sense why nothing significant has been done. After Sandy Hook, we put up steel gates outside of our schools, and I remember thinking, what is this going to do? Putting up steel gates and sending your thoughts and prayers is giving someone with a deadly disease an Advil. Here, the disease is the fact that someone, almost anyone, can walk into a Walmart and buy a weapon of war and then proceed to walk into a school and kill countless children and educators. My generation has grown up with the constant knowledge that at any given point, someone can walk into our classroom and shoot us. We have lived with the burden of knowing that our government cares more about the NRA and the rights of their guns than they do about the lives and safety of their children. We know that the same politicians who send their thoughts and prayers time and time again are receiving millions of dollars from the NRA. We know where we lie in the priorities of our nation's leaders. To us, the group of children who shudders at firecrackers and who has bruises on our knees from hiding under desks and lockdown drills, it doesn't make sense why we're still just getting thoughts and prayers. We don't want the Advil. We want the cure. We want to go to school without fear of being the next statistic. And trust me, we know what the solution is. We know we need gun control. But I want everyone to know and to understand that one day we will be the government. One of us will be the President of the United States. If our government doesn't listen to us now, if our government does not see the solution as clearly as we do, just know that when we are the leaders, we will put gun control in force. We will vote you out and we will replace you. But to all the congressmen and women listening, consider this. How many more children are you willing to let die before then? Thank you.
To the many students in our presence today, we must remember to not be selfish with our educations. Each of us walk each day into a classroom where we will be taught by teachers who sacrifice endlessly for us and continue to be blessed with the opportunity for a free education. So do not let this be in vain. Do not embark on education with ease. Do not succumb to laziness. Finish this year strong and continue to thrive for your education, because not everyone can.
Today I speak for those who can't. For my friends whose parents aren't living in our bodies nor our schools, and for my friends who'd rather support from the sidelines. But not for the people who disagree. I will not speak for them. I will speak louder. Your Second Amendment rights should not infringe upon my unalienable rights. It should not affect my life, my liberty, nor my pursuit of happiness. Your right to bear arms so that you can hunt or feel safe in case someone breaks in should not infringe upon my right to go to school and be able to focus without having to plan out methods of escape. Your right to get a gun before you can legally drink alcohol should not infringe upon my ability to actually feel safe in school. This should not be a problem. A civilian shouldn't be able to buy a gun that's only necessary for war. You don't need an AR-15 for hunting. You don't need an AR-15 for self-defense. You use an AR-15 to kill. This is no ordinary poem. This is not roses are red and violets are blue. This is roses have thorns that hurt, and violets blue reminds me of how the sky hasn't looked blue in so long. I took 17 minutes of silence to commemorate the 17 victims of just one of 20 shootings this year. It is March. Say their names. They are Alyssa Al-Hadef, Scott Diego, Martin Duke Angriano, Nicholas Dorette, Aaron Faze, Jamie Guttenberg, Chris Hickson, Lou Coyer, Kara Lugren, Gina Montalto, Jacqueline Oliver, Elena Petty, Meadow Pollock, Helena Ramsey, Alex Schachter, Carmen Shenchup, and Peter Wang. I am angry. I will not be silent anymore. I will spend the next 17 years of my life fighting with my friends for the things I believe in, and nothing but a bullet can stop me.
My name is Gabriela Nadeau, and this is a poem I wrote entitled Bang Bang, An Unfortunate Romance. Lady Liberty loved him, and he loved Lady Liberty. He was cold and hard and willing to sacrifice what was right for what was necessary, and he had such a killer smile. He kept her wrapped around his shiny fingertip, and Lady Liberty ignored the way he smiled after she said, "Till death do us part." Lady Liberty ignored the signs because her husband looked so good in black. Lady Liberty concealed her worry under pretend independence. Her license to forget never expired. She told her friends he got lost in translation. It's not him, it's everyone else. When he started taking shots at the children, she just closed her eyes. When he started holding her arm so tight she turned red, blue, and white, it's just because he's overprotective. It's his right. He owns her. But one day she won't be able to stop him with paper threats and excuses made out of history books. He'll go off under pretenses and loopholes and cracks no one saw coming. She'll be okay though. Lady Liberty owns a gun.
Hello. I'm going to start by expressing my thoughts and prayers to the 17 people that died in the Stoneman Douglas shooting. I will not, however, be satisfied with just keeping these victims in my thoughts and prayers. That is why I'm here today. I do, however, have tons of thoughts and prayers for the 535 members of Congress and the 5 million members of the NRA, because they are the cause of this travesty. I stand before you today with one simple message: not again. We cannot, as human beings, allow countless people to be gunned down every single day, whether at schools or at home. It is truly phenomenal how many people die every single day from guns, about an average of 88 people every day. That should not be happening. And I believe that all of us here agree that we need to do something to fix this. There's this thing called the Gun Show Loophole, which actually doesn't have a lot to do with gun shows. What it refers to is a statute in our gun laws. The law states that all licensed gun dealers must provide background checks, which sounds great. But the catch is that the law also says that gun dealers don't need to be licensed. This means that anyone can sell a gun, even if they don't have a license. And since they're not licensed, they don't need to give background checks. What's even crazier is that when it comes to shotguns and rifles, you don't even need to check the person's ID. This means you can legally walk up to anyone here and purchase a shotgun from them without having to undergo a background check or even an ID check. In order to solve this, all Congress needs to do is pass a bill with 6 words. All firearm transactions require background checks. That's all it takes, just 6 words, and the gun show loophole is gone. A big argument against gun control is the claim that you're only taking guns away from good people. But here's the thing. We aren't saying let's take guns away from good people. The point of gun control is to take guns away from bad people. If you can pass a background check and pass a psychiatric evaluation, then you will be allowed to own a gun. Simple as that. Another baseless argument against gun control is the claim that bad people will still find a way to get guns. This is probably worse than the last argument, to be honest. Just because bad people will continue to do bad things doesn't mean we should be scared to take action. Otherwise, we should just legalize theft. We have laws against theft, but it still happens. Or let's just legalize DUI. Because even though DUI is legal, people still do it. The argument that we shouldn't enact gun control because bad people will still get guns is dumb at worst and hypocritical at best. I'd like to tell you guys about just how much progress we have made in this fight for a safer America. There's a bill known as the Dickey Amendment. It was a bill passed over 20 years ago that prohibited the CDC, government's health organization, from studying gun violence. This is crazy. How can the government create gun reform if they aren't even allowed to study it? But guess what? 3 days ago, Congress passed a bill, which was just passed by the president yesterday, that nullified the Dickey Amendment. Now the CDC can provide vital information about gun violence to the government. This is huge, because the first step in order to get rid of any problem is to learn about the problem. The government now has no excuse to be ignorant about the various dangers of guns. And it's no coincidence that this happened right after high schoolers, like yourselves, walked out in protest of the current gun laws. Just by the simple act of walking out, we managed to overturn a horrible gun law that has been hurting America for 20 years. This is amazing. It's a sign that this generation will be the generation that will forever secure the safety of millions of Americans. We are the ones with the power, and with that power comes the responsibility to change America for the better. Before I sign off, I just want to thank you guys for taking the time to come out here and stand for hours while listening to others speak. We are truly building a better America, not just for ourselves, but for our future children. Our government is based off the power of the people, and by coming here today, you are using your power to create a positive change in America. So ignore anyone who says it's too difficult to change America's gun climate. Because as the great John F. Kennedy once said, as Americans, we do these things not because they're easy, but because they are hard. God bless you all. Thank you.
England is a cup of tea, France a wheel of ripened brie, Greece a short squat olive tree, America is a gun. Brazil is football on the sand, Argentina Maradonna's hand, Germany an Oompa band, America is a gun. Holland is a wooden shoe, Hungary a goulash stew, Australia a kangaroo, America is a gun. Japan is a thermal spring, Scotland is a Highland fling. Oh, better to be anything than America as a gun.
Graders getting backpacks searched by armed police officers. 9th graders being held for hours in the gym after school while sniffer dogs investigate. 11th graders being told to get down on the ground and keep quiet, lest they be shot. Nearly every student currently in school was born post-Columbine. We have grown up in a world where this is our normal. But why? It's time we say enough is enough.
Our education is a tool for us to improve the lives of ourselves and the lives of the people around us. And for those students here today who are still getting their education, first thing I want to ask is why you guys were late to the rally. Aren't we late to school enough? Yeah. But thank you guys. Thank you guys for showing up. I want to thank all of you for showing up, and I hope that we can all do everything we can to make sure that this never happens again. Our next speaker is Kit Emery. This is another one of the planning committee members, so I want you guys to give her a huge round of applause.
Here's her poem. Valentine's Day. I found out in 4th period. The numbness did not wear off until midnight. A midnight consumed with anger that spilled into the next day. Day 2. I am okay. We're having a lockdown drill. Well, we were going to. My principal stops by to check on us, and a wall of anger cracks to release tears. Tears I feel I don't deserve. The only tears in the classroom. Not because no one cares, but because the news is not news. The news came out before I was born. I am okay. 17 people are not. I am 17. Day 3. I do not want to come to school today. I am afraid to come to school today. Midnight gives way to anger, gives way to sadness, gives way to fear. Today was the first day I noticed my desk was the closest to the door. The news crews are already packing their bags. Day 4. Today we decided enough. Enough jumping a little in my seat when the door opens. Enough nervousness at the sound of tennis shoes squeaking against an empty linoleum hall. Enough analyzing the best escape route. Enough waiting until we were 18 to create momentum we can create now. Enough. Day 28. Orange armbands for solidarity. Some say enough, some say buy more. Some say it's disrespectful to make fun of someone's last name just because it sounds funny, especially when that someone died saving other names, other someones. Some say we don't understand. Some say their pain is fake. I don't know what to say. To me, it's still Valentine's Day. Day 34. 1 step forward, 2 steps back. 1 life spared, 2 lives lost. I consider writing a will. I am 17. I think and I pray, and I have faith in my prayers and thoughts, but it's hard to pray for peace with a gun in your hand. Thank you.
Obviously.
Hi, I'm Jillian. I'm from Harrison School for the Arts. I'm a junior in the creative writing program. And before I read my piece, I want to thank all of you for coming out here and supporting this cause. I also want to implore everyone to not only make students safe at school and to use this platform to voice your concerns, but also let's make it safe at home. There are children in communities where losing brothers, sisters, mothers, and fathers is commonplace, and it's often swept under the rug. We must listen to them. We must change this. It is not okay. And this is my experience, and I call it fire alarm. When the fire alarm goes off, we freeze. We do not leave in a single file line, calm, cool, and collected as we should. We stare, paralyzed, at the classroom door and wonder, if we're next, will they make us martyrs too? If we're next, will our faces dance in the static, seducing the impressionable young youth to open their eyes? If we're next, will I be able to tell my parents that I love them? If we're next, will I be the one of many to die? When the fire alarm goes off, we push each other under cover. We lock the door and remember that our country makes cartoon PSAs on how to survive a situation with an active shooter. And one day our kids will sit through them. And one day our kids will fear the comically dark child with the handgun. And one day our children will laugh when the students throw desks and books to stop him. And one day our kids will plan an escape route with mommy and daddy. When the fire alarm goes off, we mourn our safety. 17 stalks our peripheral vision. It pulls us into smoke, gives us butterfly kisses, promises us that when we die, our bodies will be carried by thoughts and prayers. Embalmed in the honey the NRA uses to soothe the throats of politicians who clutch metal to their chests and grow red in the face, defending the right to give children weapons of mass destruction. We, the children who hold these truths of death, loss, and decay in our backpacks to be self-evident, that our deaths were not created equal when my brothers and sisters have to beg for their bodies to be presented to the CDC. When the fire alarm goes off, one of us screams, but we do not scold her. We join her. We yell, children, we're just children. We're your children, and we are scared. And we hope that the shadow looming over us dissipates, leaving us with a better tomorrow. But when the fire alarm goes off, we know we have to go outside. After all, it's not much safer in here. Thank you.
Thank you all for being out here. It's amazing to see all of these faces out here standing for what they believe in, especially in Polk County, in Imperial Polk County, actually showing up and taking a stand for gun violence. It's incredible. Now, quite often we hear the other side speak of the right to bear arms, their right to possess tools made of inanimate objects, their right to a material good which was made to harm people. However, I counter this strong position on their right to bear arms with my right to live. The fact of the matter is that over my lifetime, I have seen the right to bear arms infringe upon my natural right, my natural God-given right to life. Quite frankly, something's got to give. I can no longer stand by while others defend their right to own machines with a singular purpose to cause harm to other living beings. Quite especially after we get the all too familiar headline of breaking news. Something has to change. No, at this time, we, the very students, must sit in these classrooms and walk these halls and simply hope and pray that our worst case scenario does not happen, that we have grown tired and impatient with adults in the room that tell us now is not the time. No, we choose to optimize this great medium known as democracy, choose to use our voice. My little brother, my only brother, who's in 7th grade, a regular 7th grader, does not know what it's like to walk the hallways one day and to find out that someone's walking through the school with a gun aimed at his classmates and the people that he calls friend. Yes, we acknowledge that it's your constitutional right to bear arms, but we also acknowledge that it is our inalienable right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. This is why we're here today. Many of the people who spoke before me mentioned the possible solutions that we have to this problem. But this that is occurring right here is the next step. That booth over there is the next step. Us coming together and speaking and using our voices, this is democracy at work. The people that say that nothing can be done, that are apathetic and incomprehensible, that do not do anything, that is what poisons democracy. That is what makes what we stand for mean nothing. You being here today, taking a stand, taking time out of your day, is doing what is right and making our country great. This is democracy at work, and we thank you for being here.
Our last speaker is actually me. I'm the last committee member who will be speaking today. I'm a student at Bartow High School, and I've lived in this area for my entire life. I've gone to school in this area for my entire life. And I know that a lot of students from Bartow High School are here today to show support. So I want to thank you guys for coming out after our hugely successful walkout. About 2 years ago, as our Bartow High School students will remember, we had a gun threat on campus. Students were forced to stay in the classrooms as the local police burst into every room with their guns out, and they searched every bag on campus before they finally concluded that the gun was actually the handle of a hairbrush in someone's pocket. It was like an action movie. The experience was surreal. They pointed guns at us. Students that day saw straight down the barrels of lethal weapons, and make no mistake, that was unfortunately our safest option. That's where we're at right now. Again, that is where we're at right now. One hairbrush on a school campus causes a gun threat that leaves students afraid to attend for weeks. This is not acceptable. And now lawmakers want to ensure that there are always guns on campus. They think that if our teachers are armed, they'd be able to stop a school shooter before anyone gets hurt. But I'll be the first to say it, that's BS. Even if a teacher was able to stop a school shooter, then what? The students have to deal with a death on campus? The teacher has to deal with being the killer? This plan puts our students' safety in the hands of an arbitrary person and in their reaction to an extreme situation, and that is not good enough. My life, and all of our lives are at risk because the current legislation is not good enough, and that is not acceptable. Instead of addressing the issue, our current politicians have become investment opportunities for the NRA. Gun rights have become untouchable, and prioritizing safety over the opportunity to make money apparently puts a politician at odds with the foundations of democracy. Again, this is not acceptable. Our students here today are studying American history, and we know that when the Constitution was created, the ability of the American people to access personal weaponry and to use it to overthrow a ruler they didn't agree with was essential to their personal freedoms. But that's a situation at one extreme end of the spectrum of outcomes of accessible weaponry. And embracing that end of the spectrum recklessly has allowed us to be blindsided by the other end, where students are shot every month. This is not acceptable. This is more than a debate on the Second Amendment. We cannot pretend that tightening gun laws discards our personal freedoms. What about my personal freedom to pursue an education? What about my personal freedom to be alive? What the NRA has is resources and a loud voice. The Florida legislation passed as a result of the Parkland shooting and as a result of the activism of the students at Marjory Stoneman Douglas High School may not be perfect, but it shows that the NRA is not as untouchable as they'd like us to think. They may be loud, but we have to be louder. This is not a partisan issue. I know a lot of our students here today aren't even old enough to have a partisan affiliation. This is about our safety and about our influence on the legislative process. If you're a student here today and you're cynical about the government, and if you think that there's nothing you can do, then that's BS too. It is our right and our responsibility to fight to change the policy decisions that put us in danger. And the government is not a system that we can just watch from the distance. If you haven't had the chance yet today to talk to one of the people with clipboards, I want you to make sure that you pre-register to vote, and I want you to make sure that as soon as possible you do everything you can to bring legislation into office that makes it harder to shoot students in schools. The NRA is not an immovable force, but if we're going to contest them, then we're going to have to fight like our lives depend on it. Thank you.
Kill it! And gun violence!